Kia ora tātou. Hands up, those of you who are mammals. Perfect. How many of you are in governance roles, board of trustees, directors, similar sort of things? All right, most of today's talk is about that. Let's crack into it. I'm going to see, hopefully this works. One moment about me. I'm an early stage software investor, so I'm on the board of 8 companies that are deep into AI, sort of companies like ACES that he talked about. I'm also an investor in a whole lot of other companies I'm not active in. I'm co-founder of AI Supercharge, which is Wellington's original AI training company as well. I'm not a technologist. I'm originally an organizational psychologist. I 100% agree with what Asa said. The technology is actually here. All of the problems and opportunities to do with AI are entirely about the humans, or the mammals. All right. I've got bad news. AI is, I'm going to use a more polite word, slightly challenging for boards. I'm going to talk about why. Even if you have one of these, hands up, who's got an AI cape? Anyone? Well, even if you have one of these, right, like I do, AI is really challenging, and I'm just going to talk about why that is. I've got really bad news. I'm just going to say it up front. There is no silver bullet. It is really, really tough. And there's really, every presentation needs a magic quadrant. That's how you get paid more, if you put a quadrant together. Because if you think about what companies do, especially in the information economy, how they do it, all of that is being upended by AI. Presumably you believe that to some extent, otherwise you wouldn't be here. But the same is true of the board. What does the board do, and how the board does it is fundamentally changing as well. And I know this firsthand because I obviously work with companies and I sit on a whole lot of boards. Now, particularly with knowledge economy, right, there's what the company does is fundamentally changing, firstly because knowledge is almost free. So it doesn't matter whether you're a law firm, engineering firm, policy analyst, whatever domain you're in, if there's cognitive value there, that knowledge is becoming cheaper and cheaper and free to almost everybody. So what does your company do if the knowledge is free? Distribution can be automated. I work with a company called Maximus. We do outbound outreach. Basically within a day, you can have dynamic websites for each customer. So each customer that's reached out to can have a dynamic website that they then see that's personalized to them, et cetera, et cetera. So outreach to new customers, prospects, citizens, whatever you're doing, it can be almost fully automated. Comparison's immediate. So across the companies I work with, about 30% of the traffic now is coming through LLMs, large language models, ChatGPT, Claude, etc. The user has already done a comparison. They have already asked a primary question, like what shoes should I wear, where should I hold my conference, what kind of microphone should I buy if I'm public speaking to 280 people, right? So the comparison's done by the user or the customer ahead of meeting with you. Imitation's easy. There's a lot. I've talked about scams before. I could put up a ASICS website that looks like an ASICS site in about 2 minutes. I built in Claude this morning a World Cup website that has all the schedule that you can set your preferences and then allows you to make calendar appointments. It literally took me less than 2 minutes. So imitation is very, very easy. And then humans actually prefer robots. So one of the companies I work with released, we're commercial real estate software. We have the option of getting a demo from a robot or getting a demo from a human. And guess who most humans prefer to get a demo from? Yeah, not mammals, not you guys, not me. So that's, every company's changing. Most haven't realized this is the case, but it absolutely already is. And I can see it almost everywhere I work. But also how a company works. Oh, my cape came off. Obviously, it's not helping. How companies do stuff is also changing. I won't spend too much time on that, but I will echo, again, Ace's point about it's a bottom-up thing. It comes with personal productivity. So there's one thing you're going to do from here if you're starting your AI journey. This is what I did, and this is definitely advice I'll give at the end. Is 2.5 years ago, I put 2 hours aside in my calendar, one to try a new tool, one to try a new use case. Right? So something I'm doing. It doesn't really matter what it is. The new tool could be silly, could be making a picture, making a video, doing some slides, doing a website for the local football club, whatever it is, right? And then a new use case was a work-related thing. I want a different way of summarizing the minutes, all of that stuff, right? But how companies are going to do stuff is fundamentally changing. And many of you probably don't believe this yet. Obviously, Ace has done this with dozens of his customers. I've just seen it throughout the ecosystem in which I work, which I appreciate is software. But how the companies are working has fundamentally changed. And then the boards, what a board does has to change as well. So again, I say this as a director of multiple. So the regulatory requirements, the Companies Act 1993, who wasn't born in 1993? Anyone who's prepared to admit it? But it's been quite a long time since the Companies Act told us what directors should do. But if decision cycles are, immediate or weekly, if your competitive landscape, is somewhere between 5 and 500 times more aggressive, if agents are doing most of the work, i.e. the robots, not your humans, again, there's still an accountability question, which was mentioned earlier, right? Financial metrics are real time. And then you know that the robots are much smarter, they have much better memories, better ability to process options, right? What does the board do? Now, the Companies Act isn't going to change immediately. We've got a minister coming up. Feel free to ask him the question when you see him at lunchtime. So the legal responsibility of the board hasn't fundamentally changed, but its practical function in a company clearly has to. And I know this firsthand. And then how the board does it. So should we all get the same board pack? I don't know. Does anyone have a view on that? Right? But I like to see things in different ways. I'm obsessed with Sankey charts. Anyone know what a Sankey chart is? Perfect. We've got a couple of finance people. I'd much rather see a Sankey chart than a P&L. So I want to see Sankey charts in my board pack, but almost no one else would. Full transparency. You're going to have Ben from Kogo, one of the boards I sit on, going to show you all his agents. Our agents at Kogo can see all the company information. I have access to those if I want it, so I actually have full transparency. Now that's stepping over the line. That's not normal for a governance professional, but it's true. It's already the case. Again, real-time interrogation. If you've got access to all that information, you can find the answer in real time. The old day of the board, this is how it worked. You have about the 25th of the month. Some boards had quarterly cadence, happened month 2 afterwards. CEO would tell you some lies because you don't have access to the source data. So then you kind of go, oh, that doesn't sound right. You ask a question like, what was the stationery budget last quarter? Because I thought it was a different one. And then the CEO goes, oh yeah, we'll get back to you on that. And then another 2 months elapse, and then you've forgotten what the question was. That's just, that is governance. That's what the law is set up to do. But that's just not going to be what it is going forward. And I had a recent example. We've done a big project to get customer feedback for a software company I'm involved in. And we'd got, I think, about 1,100 pieces of feedback from customers, so quite a lot of data. And so I'm sitting, we've got the summarised report, and being an annoying person that I am, I had some annoying questions like, what's the difference between the UK and the US? Left-handed guys called Nigel, do they think differently about our product than, right-handed girls called Joe? CEO's rolling his eyes like, why are you asking me so many stupid questions? Which is pretty normal. And then he just said, oh, enough. Here's the link to the file. I uploaded to ChatGPT, and then I asked all my stupid questions to myself. And I could get them in real time, right? Didn't have to him saying, your pointless questions, go away, do a whole lot of work, come back 2 months later, so on and so forth. So how the boards are operating is fundamentally different. And then, of course, you can get advice. When at AI Supercharge, we have 3 mental models. One is AI as a superpower. The other one is AI as an intern. So AI superpower is doing really hard things with AI that you can't do with humans. AI as an intern, which is the really boring stuff that Asa talked about earlier, right? Why wouldn't you have AI do the right? But the other is AI as a collaborator, right? And when I'm a director looking at his board pack, as I was this morning for a meeting I have on Tuesday, I have no one to talk to. My children don't really want to know, not surprisingly, nor can they can offer me free advice, but I suspect not very good ones. But AI doesn't care, and so you've got this collaborative model. So again, how a board works is fundamentally changing because of all of those reasons. So that's the bad news. I just don't have any answers. It's all the changes. But I do have one macro piece of advice, which is to jump in. it does feel a bit intimidating to many of you, I'm sure. It feels a bit like this picture, jumping into a sea of creatures that have teeth and want to eat you. And this is not a real photo, just by the way, in case you guys are worried about the guy. No one was hurt in the generation of this picture. I do encourage you to jump in. I do encourage you to just start your journey. Put some time in the calendar. As I mentioned earlier, what I did was 2 hours a week in the calendar that I committed to. It's just try one new tool, try one new use case, right? Go on training courses, whether that's through Justin's organisation, New Zealand AI. I mentioned AI Supercharge. There's plenty of providers out there. Start doing stuff. Set up teams in your organisation. Most companies I work with had like a Tuesday morning club or something similar, where every Tuesday you brought in some muffins, people would share what they've done, what they've learned, and just create that sort of culture. It can be fun. I know it's intimidating. It sort of feels like that, but the actual doing, once you've decided to jump in, is a lot more fun than being in the sea there. You actually get to do really cool stuff. And you don't have to start with serious use cases. You don't have to start with governance board packs as your first use case for AI. It can be a travel itinerary. It can be comparing bicycles if you're into bike riding. It can be building a website with the FIFA World Cup draw on it, right? But just jump in. Honestly, the consequences of not getting stuck in are perilous, not just for you as professionals, especially those in governance, but the organizations that you're representing. Because obviously, as again Asa mentioned, leadership's pretty critical. So if your board is tepid, timid, and unwilling to jump in, then it's understandable that your teams who are executing and trying to be more productive, move faster, are going to feel the same way. So please jump in. I'm just going to leave you with that. New Zealand, as was mentioned earlier, does have a whole lot of companies that are actually leading the charge in terms of building AI propositions. I'm fortunate enough to be involved with quite a lot of them, but I just thought to mention a few of them. So again, Tutaki is a board operations software for boards. We have quite a lot of success with regulated and semi-regulated areas because it actually takes care of some of the concerns that Simon Martin mentioned earlier. Right, so it's specifically built for boards. We have, school boards. We have big companies that are in regulated spaces like Sharesies using the product. But it's an amazing tool. It remembers everything, takes the data on board. Very, very compelling. Law Cyborg is a legal advice software used by 1,000 firms in New Zealand. Easily the #1 product for sort of legal opinions, advice, and research. Huckleberry is an executive coach. So most organizations can't afford a physical human coach. That's okay. AI is an amazing coach, including governance decisions, performance conversations with CEOs, all of those things. Amazing ability to role play and do similar sort of things. And then the t-shirt I'm wearing, AutoHive, which is the easiest way to build agents. Once you've learned to do the basics, you can build your agent too. So I'll leave you with that. Feel free to try these tools. Say Serge sent you if you want them to demo stuff, show you how to do stuff. For free. I'm sure Justin has a lot of the companies referenced in his material as well. But please get stuck in. It's actually a really rewarding journey. It feels scary like that picture, but once you get stuck, it's actually really fulfilling. You just end up getting more stuff done, being better at your job, and then the organizations and people you care about actually having much better outcomes. So thank you for listening. See you next time.